Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. It's now time for us to get into the viewpoint, being the 18th day of June 2025. Taking a look at basically what's happening in the country, and that is almost doing a 360-degree kind of coverage on what is expected of us. And we all know what has been happening there. And today I want us to make some sense out of what is happening and how we can bring some sanity in the country. Now, my guest is already in studio. I have Wilson Susion, who is, there you have him, right on the screen. Wishmo, you look so good today.
Oh, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm good. That's nice.
All right.
Wilson, beautiful.
And you look beautifully handsome today. And so bright. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
He's a former nominated member of parliament and former NAT Secretary General. He is doing his best on the show every day. I'll be joined by Newton Hamasi shortly, who is a SecGen Western Professionals Caucus, otherwise known as WEPROC, and Honorable Tom Odege, who is the legislator representing the great people of Nyatike. All right, before we get to the discussion, Mheshimiwa, even before we get to the newspapers and the substantive discussion, I really want us to, since we met last week, would you please just give me a quick overview of what has stood out for you, what has happened in the country, and certain things that you think should change as we move on? Some of the key highlights since last week.
Not even key highlights, key highlight. Yes. There's only one key highlight. The consequences of the death of Albert Ojwang in the cells. A very young, gifted teacher who died a painful death that no Kenyan should die. And no person should die under the hands of the police. This has gripped and paralyzed the country. And it has taken time to establish exactly what happened. And this has revealed the rotten practices that sometimes go on within our police stations. That some individuals under arrest are subjected to some disciplinary beating supervised by the police and executed by inmates. You know, you can imagine you are using murderers, remandees, being charged of murder to beat up a person arrested. I think that is completely immoral. It is something that of course the police service has been skirting around, and we saw the different information, what transpired in parliament. It never came down to the truth until now. From what the IPOA has done, it turns out that Albert Ojwang was beaten cruel by 4 inmates to death within a very short time.
Okay, because
through this is just because you've asked what happened in the week, because that release that chilled the country. And when you hear it is some inmates who were permitted by our own police, you set a criminal who was killed to discipline a person arrested. And you have both some alcohol and some other hard stuff, so that the exercise can be executed. That is wrong. That fundamentally is wrong. And I think what Kipchumba Murkomen and the CS Interior pronounced in terms of the way forward to reform the police and to ensure that the ICT infrastructure is in place and all that, may go a long way in reducing some of these activities. Illegal criminal activities. It is not right for the police to promote criminal actions within the police station. The police station should be centers of law and order. And it is where any Kenyan who is threatened, whether you are a murderer, can find safety. But it is not where you can arrest anybody and within 7 minutes is no more. That is not right. And this matter is not going to go away soon. This must be addressed by all of us, and it should be depoliticized. Let us not have politics around it. And if we may question, what was the motive of beating Albert Ojwang to death? What really was the motive?
And now the consequences.
Was it supposed to trigger some political activities? What was the intention? Because that remains mysterious, as the death was indeed mysterious. And as a country, we must stop politics around this matter and investigate thoroughly and get the criminal motive of this. And those who are involved should be severely punished. As a country, we don't punish criminal actions. We are a very tolerant country to criminal activities by individuals, whether they're police and in even other sectors. We tend to live and accommodate with criminal activities. And the moment we become tolerant and we create some harmony and live with criminal activities of this nature, then we are promoting anarchy in the society. That is what transpired in the week.
All right. Okay, my guests are also getting ready. Let me take you a quick wrap on what you have on the front page of the Standard newspaper. On the front page of the Standard newspaper says simple, killer police. That is what I have on the front page of the Standard newspaper. And the layout of the entire front page is black. Black is never color. Black is a shade of black. So this is where we are, and it signifies something quite deep and profound. Killer cop, the killer police. It says that he came to sell masks, but left with a bullet through his head. Boniface Kariuki thought that he'd get some cash in the protest day by hawking face masks, but a rogue police officer shattered that hope with a shot to the skull. He's now fighting at the hospital, a struggle that if he pulls through, his life will never be the same again for him. As thugs looted shops unchecked and police looked the other way, Boniface lay bleeding on the cold pavement. His friends cried, still haunts the chaos. What will his mother, wife, and children be told? Of course, there is a graphic illustration of what happened and the alleged killer police. That is the graphical expression of what really happened, the point of his torture, the point of his alleged assault, and finally when the deadly shot was fired. And now the bigger picture is when he lay on the pavement. This is just but a clear presentation, or perhaps what happened yesterday that were not captured on camera. And I really want us to get on this. Newton Hamasi. Newton Hamasi is the Secretary General of Western Professional Caucus, otherwise known as WEPROC. Umwami.
Yes.
Omora. Karibu sana. How are you?
Good morning, Victor.
You're well?
I'm well, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
And Mheshimiwa Tom Odege, who is the legislature representing the great people of Nyatike constituency, also on set. Mheshimiwa, karibu to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you very much.
The same way I've given Mwalimu Sosion a minute to give me a quick wrap of what stood out. Newton, a quick one. Since last week until where we are today, what are some of the key highlights, or a highlight for you? What has really stood out? I mean, we've been here the all of last week and up to this morning.
Victor, it is a very sad morning to wake up to a lot of things that have happened for the previous week. And something that is very critical to put forth is to our servicemen in uniform. Kenyans, the young people, the women of this country, the hustlers of this country are not your enemies. And probably it is about time we remind them that they are not our enemies as young people, as people who want justice. The only thing we are doing as a people is to be patriotic for our nation, Victor. Because if you look at the happenings of the things, it's like we are at war with the police. We are not at war with the police. And that is why we are trying to reach out to them and tell them, we are not your enemies, our servicemen in uniform, men and women. Because it is sad how a young man goes to the streets to protest for justice and comes or goes back home dead or hurt, like the case that happened yesterday, Victor. And it's a very humble call to the police officers.
Yes.
You are a national police service. Your mandate is not to protect a regime that is rogue. Your mandate is to guard the Constitution of Kenya. And as the people, we believe that our presence in this country, our protests in this country, our demand for justice and end to brutality or a rogue regime is not intended to harm you as the police officer, no. It is intended to make a better country. And therefore, please, we humbly request, we are not at war with the Kenya Police Service, or the National Police Service rather, but we are here at war with impunity that has grown in this country, with injustice that is happening in this country. Therefore, please, we beg you, because you have gotten to a point where our life matters. And every young man who dies in the hands of the police, it paints the service in a bad way. And we don't want to go to a place where it is the people versus the police, no. The police are here to protect the Constitution, not the regime of the day. Because you have had presidents before. His Excellency President William Ruto is not the first and the last. The police service will be here. It has been there, it will be here, it will forever be there. The people of the Republic of Kenya, we are here today, we'll be here tomorrow, we might not be there. But we have a duty of responsibility as patriots to protect and guard the Republic of Kenya. Not for us, but for the generations that are here and the generations to come.
Thank you.
So to the police, we are not at war with you.
Well taken. Newton, I'll come back to that. Mheshimiwa, yesterday, where did the whole fracas get you? Were you in Parliament yesterday, or what happened? But even that, what has really stood out for you as a citizen, first of all?
Okay, thank you very much, Olo. Yesterday, I was in Parliament. I would say a better part of the day, because from 9 I was in a committee. Then at 2:30 I was in the sitting in the House. But we could access what was happening in town using our phones, and those who also had chance to see TV could also see. I won't agree with the two who have talked ahead of me. When I listened to Sosion, he said clearly that we need to dig deep and know exactly what happened, and we depoliticize this Albert's issue, which I agree with fully. When you listen to my brother here, he has also talked about we are not enemies of the police, we are not at war like that, such a thing. But me, what I want to add on what they have said, when you look at how these things are happening very fast, because even the Yuang's case has not settled, which we expected each and every police officer who is sober enough to would have learned a lesson from it. So if you look at what happened yesterday, it's clear there is a problem in police. When Kenyans sat and said, can we make a police to be a service, not a force? It seems this one has not worked. Because when you look at what's happening and how the policemen are becoming trigger happy, we must agree there is a rot in the police. And the service part of it is not there. We are still having a force. What do we need to do as Kenyans? we need to relook into the whole police system in the country, because this rot might be deeper than the way we are thinking. What kind of officers do we have? What the level of training? Or are they appreciating being there to serve Kenyans? Or is it a psychological problem? Are they underpaid? Are they frustrated? Because what's coming out is like somebody is unleashing some pressure out. Because like this gentleman who was selling masks, even if he was pretending, but the guy was not armed. He was not even offering any threat to the officers. He was alone versus those officers. He could have not done anything. If they wanted to arrest him, the guy was at their disposal. They would have done anything they want with him.
Yeah.
What was the use of the gun there? You ask yourself, why do you use a gun when it's not necessary? You know, when somebody confronts a police officer, where a police officer is also defending his life, you can also feel, because police officer is also a human being.
Then we have the clip there. We have that clip there. It was a quick succession that if you're not keen enough, there you have it. And like within a split second or 5 seconds, you look at the gentleman was running away. Probably he was already ordered to go there. But the question is, when you look at such kind of stuff, and the whole irony here, gentlemen, is that Kenyans went on the street to protest against the death of Ojwang in the hands of the police. And another man also getting shot in the head, again in the hands of the police. Then that begs the question, much as you're saying, Mheshimiwa, that we need to have a lot of holistic approach to change the curriculum, either the system, the police service. We've had this discussion over and over again, that even when you go to police training colleges, they're having a change of curriculum and syllabus on how to do this. But it seems that somebody somewhere is not willing to change. The Mwananchi is being told you need to handle police officers like this. But the police, probably, from what we saw, is there something stuck somewhere that is not working out, or who is not getting it right? Let me get it from you, Mheshimiwa Sosion.
You know, when leadership decides to drive the engine of transformation, there will be transformation. In the Constitution, we envisage to develop a police service. We have a police service commission. It took many years for the police service commission to even be given accounting powers. It is President Ruto who gave them accounting powers on 13th of September, 2022, when he was sworn in. The working conditions of the police in terms of housing, terms and conditions of service, the Maraga report, has it been implemented? You know, you don't put things on paper and you expect miracles and magic to happen. If retraining is required, it needs to be done. If retooling the police ideologically and in terms of skills needs to be done, then it must be done. If it is upgrading the infrastructure of the police station so that they're decent and including prisons, then we must do it. And this reminds me of the time when Mudia Wari was the Vice President and the Minister for Home Affairs. And you remember the great steps that he took to dignify the prisoners and the prison service. This is now a great moment to reform the entire infrastructure of the police service in the country. We need to do that. And while we are upgrading the police service, there is also citizens' responsibility where we are failing. And I would like to implore upon the SG here who has talked about justice. You cannot engage in injustice and criminal actions in the name of looking for justice. That's a paradox in itself. It's contradiction.
Like in this case, was that guy was that gentleman? Was that gentleman involved in any sort of crime?
No, before I come to the gentleman,
Yeah.
there are other related actions, like breaking into business premises during demonstrations. That is not demonstration. Those are criminal activities. And as a country, we also need to frame how to conduct demonstrations. I and Tom have led demonstrations in this country for the longest. For the longest. And there is nothing greater than peaceful demonstrations. When they are peaceful, nobody complains. Don't touch anybody's property, or don't touch anybody not involved with what you are doing. And this is what I need to school my brother here also. So don't turn one side of the coin, you see the tail. You must also turn the other side and look at the head. So we have a societal challenge. Even as we reform the police, how do we package our activities like demonstration? Look at, for example, was it necessary to break into the fence of Parliament, go and destroy property on Parliament on 25th and say, hey, we are fighting the finance bill? That was not necessary. The violence associated, burning, destroying property, so that when you talk of a day of demonstrations in the city, then those doing business end up losing their property. Finally, to the young man who was shot yesterday. That was wrong. And I'm happy this country, the cameras, we can always have pictures of everything that is happening everywhere. It was wrong for the police officer to shoot. That was a demonstrator that should not even have been beaten or baton, you know, the police baton, let alone shooting. So really, we have a problem with those organizing demonstrations, and those organizing demonstrations escalate the threat to the police, and you'll end up prompting the police to use lethal force.
Thank you.
We must avoid frontiers where we get to using lethal force on simple activities that are progressive for the country.
Mheshimiwa, that is already outlined, and I'm so sure the police officers know at what point to use excessive force. All right, so let's take a break. And we come back, I really wanted to get into the deep root causes of this problem, what we are facing in the country, and how we can get a solution to this. But much importantly, the political punch-up that we are seeing in the country. Over the weekend, we cannot run away from this gentleman. The president said that he's not ready to hand over power to people who are planless, all right, who are planless. I want us to talk about that shortly when you come back. Newton, what's the problem? What's the problem? I've just said let's take a break. Let's take a break. Let's take a break. I'll come back. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Newton.
ESG.
Speak both sides.
No, I cannot be on the both sides.
No, you must speak both. We can't have lawlessness also.
All right, I'm told we need to continue for a minute. All right, so coming back to you again, I beg your pardon for that. So I asked that question, Newton, and you're shaking your head. Where are we in terms of handing over power? That statement was made in can I say your home turf or something?
Yes, it was Lugari actually.
Lugari.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, Victor, just before we proceed on whatever the president termed over the weekend, I just want to ask my senior here, former SG for NAT and a former nominated member of parliament. You know, this country, I believe we have a situation where we have a deficit in leadership. When you hear my friend here speak, you imagine that he's living in a place where there are no rules and regulations. Demonstration is not a privilege. It is a right enshrined in our constitution. That is a right.
Tell me about destruction of property.
Now, destruction, that is where we are going,
tell me
Honorable
about that
Sossion.
one. Yeah.
You know, it is so shocking to hear him talk about looting. When in a forum where the governor of Nairobi, which is a shame, talking of how when people will come to demonstrate, they'll find his people. Victor, those people who mentored violence yesterday, those people who looted yesterday, there is evidence on video, are not protesters. They are people who have been sponsored by the state. And we'll say it as it is. We'll say the truth to power. And we're not here to negotiate for these things. No. Whatever happened yesterday, it was not because of the people. No. It was because of the state. The state supported the violence, and actually they financed the violence yesterday.
Can you ascertain that
Yes,
allegation, Newton?
because we can see the goons were walking in front of Governor Sakaja's office, and they were saying, Kumi, bila break. What does that mean? They were wielding weapons. They were being supported and escorted by police officers. That is not something that is a new thing. You know, when the state fears criticism, they go this direction of sponsoring goonship. And we are telling them, it is not a matter of right or wrong. The state needs to do what is required to do. They're in power right now. They need to follow the law. They need to ensure that the constitution is followed to the letter. We cannot have a demonstration and then you send goons, sponsored and financed. And I can strictly, rightfully pin the governor of Nairobi to the mess that happened yesterday. It is not something that is rocket science to understand or to pick that up. So when I hear my colleague here say that demonstrators were looting and destroying property, that is being insensitive to the mask vendor who was shot yesterday, to the man who was looted, who was beaten up along Koinange Street. He was carrying his files, but you saw what happened to him. Until the border people decided to mount violence also on those people who were sent. And I'm telling you, Victor, if this trend continues, and next week we shall be having another Maandamano.
We just hope it will be peaceful.
If the government dares to sponsor these goons, please uniform them. Honorable Sosion, let them come in uniform. Because I can tell you, without fear of contradiction, the Kenyan people are going to vent violence on those goons in a way that is not going to be accepted in this
I don't think it's right to come and vent violence.
Because
it is not about violence.
And Victor, I have right of reply.
Thank you. But let me just put it across. Let me just put it clear that no Kenya is going to meet violence or to meet violence on one another. I mean, if it's supposed to be peaceful, it will be peaceful. Newton, right?
Victor, yes, that is true. But if the state sends violence against us,
there'll be there's no eye for an eye.
Yes, that's what we are saying. We're just telling them. We have been very peaceful. Yesterday, Kenyans were very peaceful. But if the trend continues, Victor, I'm telling you, Kenyans are going to take the law into their own hands.
Newton, you are one person in the show, and this is a show.
Okay.
You cannot use the show to issue bitter threats.
It is not.
When you talk of violence and destruction, it was there. And you don't have any empirical.
I have already taken charge of that.
It went on within the ecosystem. It went on within the ecosystem of the demonstration. That is why, Victor.
Let me add my voice. We are leaders.
Right.
And when we are leaders, if we have realized something has gone wrong, it's our responsibility to look for solutions, not to fear, not to fuel it. And I expect ourselves, me, SG, Sosion, and yourself, we must talk to Kenyans so that we get a balance. Because like now, yesterday, let's say we lost a life. That life will not come back. We lost a Yuan. Yuan will not come back. So we need to talk in a manner whereby we can heal our country and get the wrongs fixed. I myself, I cannot support what happened yesterday, where the people were demonstrating and other people were also sponsored to counter them. That was wrong. That was an eye to an eye. That was wrong. And it's a mistake which we need to come here and say, how do we fix it? If we want to fix the issue of demonstration, police must stand tall and do their work. We cannot use citizens to help police do their work. That one cannot work. With that one, we are fueling more violence. Number two, we cannot sit here and again say goons looted. We don't have evidence.
There's no evidence at all.
We don't have evidence. What we need to tell Kenyans that they were looting yesterday, and we demand a report from the police on what happened, what went wrong, why were people looted. Yeah, because those people who are looting people on the road, you cannot sit here and say this was a goon, this was
this group.
This was you could not, because they were behaving the same. So what we need a very clear report, and this thing need to be investigated and see who are the people behind this thing. Because I can tell you from my point that both sides are sponsored. And we need to look at those who have sponsored them. Because if the riot was about Ojwang and everybody in the know were aware that DIG was mentioned and we were demanding for him to resign.
Step aside.
After him stepping aside, we need to take a break and see is he stepping aside allowing investigations to go on smoothly.
Yeah.
But if he has stepped aside and we still escalate
violence,
demonstrations, even with us, people who have been in the labor movement for long, when the employers accepted to negotiate,
you surrender.
You surrender and allow the process to continue. If the process fails, then you can go back on strike. But you cannot demonstrate forever when the person we have demanded to leave has left.
It's like you're flogging a dead horse.
Huh?
No, it is.
So we need to reason together. This country,
what it means, you're not after peace, you're after violence.
This country is ours, and if we lose it, nobody will gain. Me, you, and those people outside there will be all losers. So me, what I can tell Kenyans today, let us give a chance so that we know how this case of Ojwang will go. Now that Lagat is out, now that the OCS is arrested, the Mukwanas and those people are also talking, and we could see some evidence coming out, let us allow that process to continue. Me, so far up to now, I cannot blame the government on anything on Ojwang because everything is playing the way people wanted to see. Let us wait for this investigation to be concluded. After that, if it's not done to our satisfaction, then we have a right to demand again and go to the streets and demonstrate and see that justice is done to that family. We cannot purport to be sympathizing to the family and again at the same time interfering with the process. Because like now, after Lagat left, who are we demanding to leave again?
Or what are we demanding?
Or what's on the table as the demand?
Yeah.
So let us allow that process to continue. Number two, I don't know, I want to pick his word. Because I don't have any evidence Sakaja sponsored goons, but he said it. If at all Sakaja sponsored goons in Nairobi, then Sakaja should also be arrested and charged.
Correct.
If there is evidence, because we don't want people to sponsor violence in this country. We want peace. We want our country to develop. Like yesterday, you look at the town. Apart from looting, there was no business. And we have a number of people in this country who come to Nairobi daily and get that day bread. They come do some manual jobs. They get money for their bread. They go eat it. And they start. Yesterday, they didn't eat. Yes, they could not eat. They do. They go home and start stealing also.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need.
Remember, Mheshimiwa Godfrey Rook, who is now the CS, had a proposal in Parliament to streamline just should be. That is no longer a member of this.
What I can tell you is trying to do what theatrics. We have law.
Okay.
Which we only need to implement. And everybody needs to respect. There is no vacancy in that law. The law is complete and all round beneficial to all Kenyans. The only problem is our own. We are trying to violate it at the same time. If we are educated about the law and we implement it, because that law does not give you power, even if you go there to demonstrate, does not give you power over law.
Okay.
You as also goes riches here, when you remit a law, you allow law also to exercise this. The law is clear. So what we are trying to do here, people are just trying to circumvent the real issues and do their own things. Like now, when you come to town to demonstrate and you are given notice, and you are given room and security to demonstrate, why do you go to someone so?
Good question. Mheshimiwa Sosion, you know, it's good that you've mentioned, you've been in the labor movements for, we can't remember. And there are certain parameters when it comes to demonstrations and, you know, timelines and notices and all that. So now what happens? Many times you'll hear people say that we gave police orders and all that, but then all of a sudden they say that those orders were thwarted and then thereafter chaos erupts. What happened in such a scenario?
Yeah, I and Tom, we've done demonstrations for long, and there are protocols of doing it. Even as a leader, you don't call out your people to demonstrate without an organized strategy that secures their safety, that focuses on the message you want to communicate or petitions. You can't do that unless you have it in that particular organized manner. And once you do that, you can demonstrate for 100 days. We saw the doctors on strike for 100 days. And we never saw any disruption of businesses, destruction of property. There wasn't. We've done that within the labor sector. And we have seen the practice even all over the world. If you go to South Africa, they are very vibrant in engaging in public demonstrations. And they put on uniform. That is one practice. In some countries, you must be in uniform. You must define you're moving from which point to which point and who are demonstrating. Because rightly, as Thomas put it, in the Constitution, your rights stop where you begin infringing on the rights of others. So the road users, those doing business, the hawkers, they should not be affected by what you are doing. So it cannot be that when you are doing demonstration, you bring boulders to the road, you chase everybody out of town, you break into shops. Those are not demonstrations. And I think the political parties, this is a question now which goes to the political parties, organized groups, the civil societies. They have to go back and do their homework. Don't use the Constitution, which outlines clearly what ought to be done, to violate the same provisions of the Constitution by promoting violence and anarchy.
Okay.
Article 37 is clear. Kenyans can demonstrate peaceably and unarmed. It's very clear. So what the police are responding to is what I would call violent demonstration. Actually, what we witness here in Nairobi, in terms of standards, demonstrations and processions and practices, what we are witnessing here is war.
Okay.
There have never been demonstrations.
So there's a question I want to ask all of you. What does Wanjiku want? Newton, what does Wanjiku want? The Constitution is here.
Yes.
The laws are there.
Yes.
We have got several provisions and even some of the proposals perhaps in Parliament. Mheshimiwa is here.
Yes.
Then what does Wanjiku want?
It is basic and very simple. Wanjiku does not want police brutality. That is one. Two, Wanjiku wants to be listened to. And Victor, we have a very beautiful country. We have a very beautiful people who are very patriotic, Victor. Kenyans communicate. They are very good communicators. And we thank God for the social media platforms that we have. Because it feels like a social media revolution that is happening in the country. You see, Kenyans are very clear in communication. When the late Albert Ojwang died at Central Police Station, we demanded for the truth. Instead, the police gave us lies, which even they gave on the floor of the house. Then, after some time, the truth starts coming out. Yesterday, the truth is Kenyans were seeking justice. If we let the death of Albert Ojwang slide, how many Kenyans are going to die in the hands of the police officers? And I want to agree with my two panelists here. One is this. We need to look at the core reason why the police in uniform are behaving or are acting the way they are doing. Because I have had a reflection for the last 48 hours on what could be imploding the police officers, the rogue ones, to behave the way they are doing. And Victor, I have come to the realization that we don't treat our police officers well. And it is because of that bitterness they come outside here and think that as Kenyans, we are their enemies. We are not their enemies, Victor. And it is about time we call ourselves, we alert ourselves and talk about the issue of police officers. And this is what maybe I could recommend Sosion to give to the president. Before the president brings affordable housings to us as Kenyans, let him first of all ensure that the Kenya Police Service, the National Police Service, the police officers have affordable, good residential places. Let their needs be addressed. 2, because they're just 100,000 or so. Most of us Kenyans, we are like 60 million.
Yeah.
The president might not honor every promise he made to us, but we are requesting him. Because with the trend it is taking, Victor, it feels like these police are hurting somewhere. And if we don't address that particular problem, we'll find ourselves in this mess day in, day out. And it is about time we look at that.
Yeah.
Their salaries, are they being paid their salaries well? Because if you look at the officer who shot yesterday, he is amongst the Gen Z age bracket. That is a fact. And the same anger and bitterness that the young people have in this country with lack of jobs, with lack of something solid to do, with a country that cares and addresses their interest, is the same way this police officer will feel.
Okay. Bushima, what does Wanjik want?
You'll allow me to pick it from where he has left.
Go ahead.
By identifying that a police officer who sought was a Gen Z. And Gen Zs are crying for the job. And this police officer is employed. Those are the jobs those people outside there are crying for. This one is employed and still misusing the guard. Or those who are still looking for the job outside there. Then the begging question is that are these young people really well-oriented to know what they are looking for? Because if your own colleagues are looking for jobs outside there, you have a job and you're killing them. Number 2,
I get a point.
That's the point which I've picked from him. Okay, what I wanted to say about Kenyans. What you're seeing in Kenya today, and I want to be very honest with you, we will try to come here and say what are the Kenyans looking for. But I can tell you what is going on today is purely politics against the regime, which we have currently.
Okay.
Today, we are using Ojwang. The Ojwang will go, then tomorrow we'll be using another thing. The day, so long as the Ruto regime is still in the government, there are people who will not stop from sponsoring noise until they see Ruto out. So let us not think what Kenyans are looking for is they want to be heard. There is no one who is listening to Kenyans than Ruto himself. You can see delegations going there, including entertainment industry. Everybody are trooping to State House every week, going to Ruto, is listening to them. Ruto has even gone public to open a forum to engage with the youths in X platform. So Ruto is listening to them, the room is open, people are listening to them, but what will make a group, a clique to feel satisfied is only when Ruto is out. And when Olo will be in, there will be another group who will not listen until Olo is out. So the chorus we are in here today is not that now we can sit down and say what Kenyans want. If you ask me what people of Nyatike want, I'll tell you. But if we lump Kenya together, we are so tribalized until we cannot speak as a country.
The question that many people are asking themselves is, you're a member of ODM.
Yes.
Where is your party leader?
Thank you.
Okay, Raila has been out of the country. He came back, I think he's a day old in Kenya. Yeah.
And complaints are people always see him when such things do happen. He's usually come out, Capitol Hill, or do a press conference. He's never spoken.
But Raila...
And I can see, I'm so sure you're seeing a lot of memes going on social media and a barrage of statements against him.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Raila as a human being, has a right to go for leave, medication, family issues, and everything. And we don't need to speculate a lot about him. Unless you go and see Raila today, before seeing Raila in the office, you can't stand there and start questioning where he is. And you are aware Raila went out of the country. Some of us who are privy to information, he went for medical review. And Raila also needs a break. You don't expect Raila to be a small god. Raila is also a human being, and he needs a break. But on this one, the statement from Raila's office was very clear. Or that one is not enough. People just want to see Raila himself
leading demonstrations.
In the cameras or leading demonstrations. No. Raila as a human being can get tired, can get sick, can get engaged. We don't need to try to look for Raila everywhere. Let us give Raila a break.
All right. I don't know whether to go with us.
No, you'll have to go with me. It's my turn.
Go ahead,
it is my turn. I think rightly, as Tom is putting it, what we are seeing is not Kenyans clamoring for justice. Who has denied anybody justice in this country?
Wow.
Nobody.
Wow.
The only thing that some people have missed is power. So these are political activities, and I would call them political violence against a legitimate political institution in office. You know, if you want to defeat somebody in 2027 elections, you don't go the route of violence. You go the route of persuasion. Politics is persuasion. Go talk to people. Nobody has denied you that opportunity to go around the country and talk to people, sell your alternative views, give you. But when you elect route of violence, you wait for unfortunate incidences in the country, then you make capital out of it, like Ojwang's case. Like the finance bill, you now want to do the commemoration and such like things. That is a backward way of doing politics, and you may never even get that power anyway after all, because Kenyans are wise. They're not foolish. They're seeing what is happening. And no Kenyan does not want peace. We want a stable economy so that we can calibrate our programs. And the president is very keen on that. The delivery of the 5 pillars. There is need to put a lot of energy in the agricultural sector to spur manufacturing, value addition, and create programs and create jobs. There is need to ensure that there is UHC is delivered successfully, and that Kenyans are treated without any problem. And unlike before, even critical illnesses are treated. There is need to roll out and make affordable housing real, roll out quality market infrastructure, and even eventually look at establishing quality infrastructure in our learning institutions within that space. There is need to strengthen the ICT infrastructure network, and the ICT should not be misused. It should not be used for war. It should not be abused. And there are a lot of things to be done. And the president has established a broad-based government. You're asking where Raila Odinga is? He's one of the key architects of the broad-based government. And he has appended his signature. And so he appeals to a peaceful country, an orderly country, where there's economic transformation and revolution in which the president is leading.
Where's camera? Your camera is number 5. Yes. Today I want to give you something, Mheshimiwa. In 30 seconds or in 45, talk to that camera and give us your quick analysis on what you think should be done to make Kenya great. Straight to the camera.
Let us reflect as a country, go back to the Constitution and understand the spirit and letter of the Constitution. Let us not misuse the clauses in the Constitution to promote political anarchy and violence. We need a stable country so that the agenda of economic transformation can be achieved. Economic transformation is not going to be achieved through violence and through culture of dismantling our nationhood. And I think this is a moment in time for Kenyans to reflect deeply, allow the president to drive his agenda. He has 5 years. If you have any issue with the president, wait for him at the ballot box in 2027. Don't go destroying property and disrupting businesses of Kenyans and promoting political violence in the country. We don't need it.
Okay.
For once, we need peace.
Thank you. Newton, where's Newton's camera? Number one. As a leader, as a SecGen, what do you think can be done to make Kenya a good country? That is your camera.
What needs to be done to make Kenya a good country is to have leaders who respect the rule of law, who love accountability, who embrace criticism, who do not respond to criticism with violence. And as I've said, leadership is not something that is given to you is not something that is earned through arrogance, no. It is something that is given to us to exercise with humility. I implore to the current regime, the generation now is not interested in power. That is why the Gen Z, they don't have a face. They don't have a leader. All they're asking for is justice where there is injustice, accountability where there is theft, and unaccountability. What they're asking for is for their cries to be listened to. And for the leaders in position now to just do the honorable thing and honor the promises they have given to the Kenyans. Because if they do not honor those promises, Kenyans will ask for accountability.
Thank you.
If that accountability is embraced as violence, as demonstration, so be it. But what we're saying, accountability is non-bargainable.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Tom,
Thank you very much.
to your camera. Where is Mheshimiwa's camera? Number one. Go ahead.
I want to be very categorical to the people of Kenya. All of us, we belong to tribes. All of us, we belong to clans. When it comes to peace and the development of our country, let us respect our clans and let us respect our country. We don't want to use our ethnicity to stop Kenyans from realizing peace as a country. We have a country for all of us. There is no day we will expel a clan from Kenya. All of us, we belong to this country. Let us not use our clans to muscle the government to succumb to things which cannot be achieved. We have to protect our country. We have to make our country be peaceful. Those of us who have traveled outside Kenya will agree with me that in this region we are, Kenya is the best country we have around here. Kenya is the most open country where people can talk their minds, where people can exercise what they want. And if you don't want to believe me, try our neighbors and you'll tell me you'll regret why you visited a neighbor and come back to Kenya. We need to build a country where every Kenyan have a right to be heard, where every Kenyan have a right to be respected, where every Kenyan have a right to live. For our police officers, please, if there is a problem, don't address that problem on innocent Kenyans. Look for a way of addressing your problems, and to the government, can we look deep into the police and unearth a problem? There is a problem with our police, and that problem must be fixed so that Kenyans can trust police officers in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's a better way to finish the show today. Mheshimiwa Sosion, do you agree with me? Thank you. We are done.
Thank you.
Asante sana. I've given you a minute each so that you can talk your mind to Kenyans. Apart from the debate that you usually have back and forth, you give your honest opinion and your honest pin-up on what you think should be done to make Kenya great again. For me, I think strengthening our economy, following the Constitution and devolution and rule of law, and just strengthening our governance system would make this country a better place. gentlemen. Thank you so much. Mheshimiwa Wilson Sossion is former nominated Member of Parliament and NAT Secretary General. Join me on set, Newton Hamasi, Secgen of Western Professionals Caucus, or otherwise known as WEPROP, and Honorable Tom Odege, representing the great people of Nyatike constituency, also on set. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. And even you as a Kenyan, please, let's go out there and make Kenya great, as always. Thank you. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.